leaders of the moment. I'm Ben George, your host. Indeed, these are unprecedented times. And there's so much fear and panic in the air, just because of the crisis the world is facing at the moment. Today we shall be examining issues around COVID-19 pandemic. I have 4 analysts in the house today, and I'll be introducing them one after the other. On my far right is an economist, Dr. Alara. Thank you for coming on the program today.
Thank you, Mr. Ben, for having me. Good day.
I have right beside me Reverend Brown, all the way from African Ecumenical Center. Welcome on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Then on my left-hand side here is Dr. Sandra. She's a public health practitioner. Welcome on the show.
Thank you very much.
This is Comrade Wakajaye, a public affairs analyst. Welcome to this program.
Top of the morning to you, Mr. Ben. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. You're welcome on the show. Okay. Today, like I said, we'll be examining issues around COVID-19 pandemic. The fight against COVID-19 has been a serious fight and is creating a new world order. Indeed, is impacting seriously and significantly on us as humans. It has affected every aspect of our human existence. These are not times to joke and to toy with. There have been responses all over the world, nationally, regionally. There have been responses. I want to ask us on a general note today, how have you responded to this pandemic here in Nigeria? Dr. Alara, maybe I should start with you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Ben. Basically, if you look at the responses so far, it has been mixed. Let me start with those in the formal sector. Basically, workers in the formal sector that have had to reduce their expenditure and sort of conserve what they have. But those in the informal sector have been the hardest hit. These are people that rely on daily income. So the lockdown has adversely affected them, and that's why it's been difficult restricting them as home. So basically, so far, we looked at it that the responses has been mixed.
Thank you, Dr. Alara. Maybe I should ask our health practitioner. Nigeria has enjoyed some support from the World Health Organization, and the federal government has done so much, at least we've heard in the news. What's the response like here in Nigeria? Talking about the health sector.
Really, nobody actually anticipated that this year would reveal one of the most infectious diseases, which is the COVID-19. But really, the health professionals, they've been on the lane of COVID-19 response. And they've encouraged people to observe good personal hygiene. The hand washing, frequent hand washing regularly, use of hand sanitizer. And they encourage people who are sick to stay at home so that they can prevent the spread of the virus. And really, like you said, the WHO organization has actually helped the government by providing adequate equipment. And also, they've also helped to monitor the effects of the outbreak. So they're really doing a very good job in that area.
Wow. Dr. Sandra, thank you for that response. Reverend Brown, coming from a religious organization, how have you responded, on your hand to this pandemic?
Yeah, thank you very much. Initially, it was generally thought that this viral disease is a disease of the elite class, of the rich class. But then the ripple effect has been extended, to the poor, and our religious organization comprises of both the rich and the poor. The poor don't travel out. It's only the rich that are traveling in and out of the nation, But then we're having to grapple with economic woes, and as a religious organization, we have come up with some aids for palliatives for some of our members that are worst hit as a result of the lockdown, that they cannot actually go out there to, do their daily job and to fetch their daily income.
Thank you, Reverend Brown. That's interesting, and so interesting to know. Well, can I direct this question to you? The word on the street, Reverend Brown, the word on the streets in recent time is that religious leaders are really, really against government shutting down churches. Okay. And then some of them are even going to the extent of cursing these leaders. Well, what do you see to that?
Well, first of all, I need you to note that every leadership is ordained of God. And if anything, we need to respect the decision of our government. However, if their decisions are unfavorable, then what do? You don't go out to the public sphere and then start raising dust, start creating issues out of nothing. What you could do basically is just to go into your closet and talk to the Creator, to the maker of all flesh, God, who is also the controller of times and seasons of some of these leaders. You will get to talk to some of these leaders and then you make things happen. I don't think anybody should come out and then start cursing.
Thank you, Reverend Brown. You wouldn't do that. I'm glad to hear that. But looking at it on the other side, Dr. Alara, churches are being shut down, but the marketplace is opened up. Does it really make sense? So far, people will still be gathering in the marketplace.
Well, I think basically looking at the present lockdown and what government has allowed, you look at it from the economic perspective that churches are not essential service providers. Markets are. So people will have to go out and find food. So government would consider it in a way that, look, churches can remain closed while markets can remain open. But be that as it may, I don't think it is proper and right for religious leaders to curse the governmental leaders. I don't think it's right. It will not resolve the impasse. That's my opinion on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Alara. Looking at Nigeria, actually, will it be correct to say that our leaders have been able to hold their game in tackling this pandemic, considering the political will, in terms of the political will? Comrade Wakajaye, to respond to that question.
Thank you, Mr. Ben. You see, what is on display at the moment is a cumulative effort of failure of leadership and political will. You see, let me take us through the statistical journey into the health sector. In the last 10 years, we have spent about 2.7 trillion naira. And using different exchange rates, that has amounted to about $9 billion. Now, let us now make a comparative analysis with the second biggest economy on the continent, which is South Africa. South Africa last year budgeted about $17.1 million for their health sector. If we deduce from these two comparative, from these two statistical analyses I've made, that of Nigeria for the past 10 years, you will find out that Nigeria has only spent 50%. That is half of what South Africa has spent in a year. Now let us take it home again. Using Ghana as an example, Ghana budgeted about $1.2 million for their health sector. And when you do the math, that's about $41 per person for the Ghanaian government. Now come home to Nigeria. Nigeria also budgeted similar amount of money. That is $6 per person. You can see where the problem lies. Now, from the statistics of the Nigerian Medical Association, they told us that we have 40,000 doctors. It means that is one doctor to about 5,000 people, because Nigeria has a population of 200 million people. Now, let us go to NCDC staff. They have a staff strength of 213, not call center persons. When you do the math, it's about 1 person to 1 million Nigerians. If you and I get infected with COVID-19, what do you think will happen? It is as a result of the rot in the health system. The political will is messy. It is ridiculous and it is absurd. That is just it.
It's very simple. I believe God is the hope for the common man. It is true, as my comrade has said, the political will of the Nigerian leaders is relatively weak. But then, this is the time to look up to God. The wisdom of men is bound to fail. See, science and technology, artificial intelligence, whatever experts could come up with, has that limitation of failure. So what do we do other than to look up to God, to cry out to Him? He's our Creator. And He has already figured out some of these difficulties, into our existence. He knows that at some point in time, we are going to run into problems. And He has the solution. So this is the time to look up to God.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I think that sounds more hopeful for us as a nation. Looking at all of these realities and facts and details before us, I don't know, what advice do you have for our viewers in the house today?
I think people need to see this COVID-19 as the actual pandemic that it is, and stick strictly to the rules and precaution, then we will know that we have a chance to fight this virus at large.
Thank you, Dr. Sandra. Dr. Alara?
Well, basically, my advice to Nigerians now is that they should begin to look beyond the pandemic and acquire new skills. One of the skills they should acquire is IT skills, because that's the way the world is going. Then similarly, they should begin to save more, because recession is most likely going to occur in our economy, and it may lead to job loss and wage cuts. So people should save more so that they can weather the storm. That's my advice to Nigerians. Thank you.
Well, I really don't have much to say other than to urge the government to, provide test kits so that we can have aggressive testing. When we have aggressive testing, we will flatten the curve. Let us know the infected people and let us know the healthy people. And most importantly, let us hold our government accountable. Accountability is very, very important.
Thank you, Comrade. Reverend?
Thank you very much. Well, for the common man, how do they cope in this difficult period? Basically, like Dr. Sandra said, it's appropriate that we comply with medical guidelines and then try to cope, in our own little way, whatever it is we could do for our neighbors, for people around us. But beyond all of this, we need to, connect with God, because this time is really difficult. And you want to consider the fact that when a manufacturer is coming up with a gadget, there's a manual that comes with it. Our Creator created us. We are His creatures. He is our Creator. So there's a guideline He has in place. So what we would do best to serve our need at this point in time is to look into the guideline. And according to the guideline, He's saying that He has a good plan for us. He has thoughts of peace for us to give us an expected end. Any man that is our leader has that limitation within themselves, because at some point in time they will run into issues that are beyond their own intellectual capacity. But God has all of the solution. So this is the time to look up to God, and He will help us not just to survive, but we will be able to thrive in this period.
Wow.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting time here, and I'm sure you've all enjoyed the program today. Thanks to all our analysts. I really, really appreciate us for coming on the program today. I want to say to everyone at home listening to us that indeed we can thrive in these hard times. Beyond just survival, I want to believe that we can actually thrive. Before we draw the curtain on the show today, can I just remind us again that indeed we can thrive and not just survive. I'll see you again next time. Thank you for hooking on the show today. Bye for now.